Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. In the last episode, we've done some more investigating after the trial pretty much ended abruptly in an uproar, and we discovered a couple of crucial things. Number one, Chief Gant has been hiding some evidence relating to the SL9 murder incident in his office in a safe. And number two, in order to open the safe, we used the same number from the ID card list in the special evidence room, the one that hadn't had a name attached to it, number 7777777, and we found that that was the number that was able to open the safe containing the evidence in question. So, putting all this stuff that putting all these things together, to me, I think it's pretty safe to say that Damon Gant is actually our murderer in this case, the one who actually killed Detective Goodman. And he merely used several people, including Edgeworth and Lana, unwittingly in Edgeworth's case, in order to try and dispose of Goodman's body. As for when Gant murdered Detective Goodman, it was probably when he and Goodman went into the special evidence room together at 4:20 p.m. on the day of the murder. So now I gotta try to bring Gant to the defendant's stand, well, the witness stand, excuse me, and see if I can find some way to pin all of this bullshit on him. But it's undoubtedly going to be easier said than done. So let's just go ahead and get things started. February 25th, 9:47 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. This is defendant lobby, all right. But there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth! Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7777777 ID number is, that is. Did I say 17 too many? Well, I pretty much have a strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. No, the trial ended because Lana dropped a massive truth bomb on everybody. Why can't I say bomb? If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True. Not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here. To hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. Truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. I think we already have a pretty good idea on what it is that he has on Lana, going by one of the things we found in that safe of his. February 25th, 10 a.m., District Courtroom Number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant. There you are. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, Udgy. Been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, what exactly is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? I haven't heard what she intends to say. I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. You're gonna say, I'm guilty, I'm guilty, I'm guilty, right? What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished. What then? What's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana!
Objection!
You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my rights to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. While the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation, the request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial. God damn it, Lana. Even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant.
Objection!
Edgewort! You are coming to save me yet again. One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth! The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you. But why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do. Worthy. He's going for under your armor, man. He's attacking your weak spots. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh? To whom? Excuse me. As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I'm exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue. I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. I understand what you're saying, Edgeworth, but, I mean, just proceed with caution is all I can say. Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy. You'll live to regret this. Mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Now then, witness. Please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma. Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator. You could have just said high school student. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Given all the shit we've seen so far in this case, I'd say very much so. Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. You sure gave in fast. Better for me, though. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. It is our job to pick it apart and analyze it, and put all the puzzle pieces together. 2 years ago, I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That'll soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. I think I should just press on her for everything from now. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes. She was second in command under then Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister. She was the best detective ever. Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Skye used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day, too. The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man came running in and took me hostage. Okay, tell me about that. A man. Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. I thought he turned himself in. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran to Skye in Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. Neil Marshall rescued me. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. I almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King Prosecutor's Award. Young dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assumed that would also be why he was the first one to after Dark. When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but I'm gonna forget what I saw in that instant. Okay, what did you see? Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark just then. Just then the lights went out. The lights? It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out. Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right. But just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind. I see. I told the detectives about what I saw then. The detective? Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman. The victim. Hear more. So he spoke with Detective Goodman about this. 2 years ago. Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw. Yes, but at the time the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. Picture. Yes, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? Ask about the picture. This picture the witness drew. I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we had added this statement to your testimony? Yes, Your Honor. And I gotta present the evidence list I got. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost. You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right? Yes. I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes. That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken. But I did draw it, I swear! I'm not just imagining it. This picture Emma drew. That reminds me. I guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. This scene that was imprinted an image in your mind. Can you please describe it to us? The man. Okay. This picture. I need you to take a good hard look at it. Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence. Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold! This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over. Turn it... Ah! What's this? It looks like a man about to beat someone senseless with a club. Yes, what is that? Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew. Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other. And yet nobody noticed this, not even you, Edgeworth. Quite astounding, honestly. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence list in that case ever reached you. What? What?! Order. Order! But Miss Skye, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor! Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. You're one to talk. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more to the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable. Mr. Edgeworth? It's possible. Let's see. How did you fail to notice not only a drawing on the back of this list, but that it was torn in half? How, I ask? How? Something wrong? Do we even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing! The Blue Badger is the true murderer. He went back in time and stabbed Mr. Marshall like a freaking onion. Actually, no, that doesn't quite work. That's that thing! That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Why the silence, Emma? Okay, we got the whole thing now. Very well, witness. Let's take a look at this whole thing now. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Huh? Oh, yes, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seems to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. Emma's picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Okay. Yeah, he must have fainted. I think what I need to do here is I need to press on what you exactly saw at that moment. So let's do that. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course. This is the exact scene. It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. I better watch out, or you might find some way to cut my salary. A reasonable fear. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives. So I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me. Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture? Huh? Oh, well. It's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind. And yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. I think I need to present Joe Dark's knife here. Because if this is exactly what she saw, then the only way that the knife would look like it would have a flat end is if it was already broken. So let's try presenting it. Oh shit. Whoops. Shows exactly what you saw at that instant. What else was I supposed to present here, and if not that? Why don't I try pressing on everything else first, before I try again? Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gant on Lana's Sky. 2 or 3 days later. The memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? The flash of lightning was so bright I could see the shadows. So at the time you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue. No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on me, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed. Poor Emma. I was glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? After that, I must have fainted. You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No. I'm sorry. The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. The tables have been turned. Now we're being accused of being the bad guy. Anyway, this picture. It's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in the act. Really a contradiction here. I think it's got to be related to the knife, but that already didn't work. So what do I present here again? Okay, I thought maybe the picture itself might work. The knife isn't it, and neither was the evidence list itself. So that leaves... this picture. God damn it. I'm really drawing a blank here. Okay. Something... I really don't want to present anything without really thinking things over first. Piercing heart, lung assessment. Died from blood loss under 10 minutes. Weapon found and wound was missing tip. But the tip was already missing, so maybe this? There we go! Shit. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. I still don't understand why the knife itself wouldn't have worked just fine, though. But I still remember it just like it was yesterday. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? Well, this thing, of course.
Take that!
The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body. It was a conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma.
Objection!
And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. I guess now I see why my me presenting the knife now didn't work last time. Makes sense now. Ah! What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right. What does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably rediscovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time. But she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence. You're treading on thin ice, Wright. All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Yeah! Order! 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 Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place on the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? There is one. The witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw. It can't be explained away by simple observational error. Mr. Wright. In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume, then, that you have some information about this other broken knife? If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. I say it's this thing. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here, inside this picture. This is a picture of the awards ceremony. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife! As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Order! 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 Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be! Oh? And why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors' award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, the man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Oh! But the prosecutor was the only one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Hold it! Wait! I remember now. I remember everything. Witness? Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? His list? You want that picture scribbled on the back? I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Well, if you saw someone like the Blue Badger coming into the scene and murdering somebody, that'd probably be a bit traumatic for a lot of people too. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Skye? Yes, Your Honor. First a knife mix-up, and now the Blue Badger. This should be interesting. Emma's recollection. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. This is certainly most unusual.
Objection!
Try impossible! The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, fence mate, hello? Stop! Please! Don't pursue this any further! Lana, what's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I already confessed to the crime. The fact that you're objecting now kind of tells me that we are getting awfully close to what you don't want us to find out. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky, we've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Okay, here we go. Silent man raises knife, panic rush, thing this we know. Let's press on this. Are you sure about this? Of course. See, I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. Now it's just this year. Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us. Where in the room did you see him dancing? He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. His shadow? So I mean, you didn't actually see his face, but its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
Objection!
This is pointless! That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken.
Objection!
It may well be. What's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. If so, then by all means, please show us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this blue badger really? I just might know. The blue badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there was indeed something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright. In this room. Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike. Well, I bet you're all wondering, what is it that I have in the evidence that looks like the blue badger? Well, I have this thing.
Take that!
You'll see where I'm getting at in just a minute. The mysterious blue badger was in fact this. But that's... what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar. Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. Well, specifically, this angle. Okay, let me see if I can rotate this. Okay, there we go. Looking a bit familiar, guys? This isn't right. Gotta make him look more like the Badger. Allow me to remind the defense its case hinges on the witness's drawing. If Mr. Wright can't match the shape the witness drew, we cannot accept his claim. Gotta find just the right angle. Maybe I should rotate it vertically a bit more? Or horizontally? Come on, Mr. Wright, you can do it! Okay, come on, I was on the right track. You guys saw where I was going with that, right? Okay, wait a minute. Wait. No, I'm positive it has to be this. There.
Take that! Objection!
Come on, man. That's the right angle. At least I think it is. Three little horns. Three little horns.
Take that!
Okay, this is starting to annoy me. God, finally! Forgot how damn annoying this one was. This one little evidence segment. Well, is this a miracle or what? I swear to God, I did this like 9 times. Well, is this a miracle or what? Holy freaking shit, does it need to be precise. No one could possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the Blue Badger. No. It can't be! Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious Blue Badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Objection!
Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that Badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything!
Objection!
I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything! Indeed. Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? Well, the location. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on the shelf. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant.
Objection!
But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself.
Objection!
Yes, and it's these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office.
Objection!
Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? Ah! The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. So, remember Jake Marshall mentioning again in Neil's autopsy report that the switchblade could very well not be the murder weapon? And remember what I was alluding to about that third thing I noticed in that picture when we first saw it right away? The third thing I noticed that was interesting about it? This is it. Yes. Since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, it would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes, there is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless, I don't know if I can go through with this. Emma ended up pushing Neil Marshall into the suit of armor. Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? Oh boy. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. What? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? I've never seen you this nervous, Lana. Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have to prove. You're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. Yes, we could, if we had Maya around. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. Well, I think I know. Yeah, I know where this is going. In one manner or another. That's impossible. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. Why do I have to prove it? He's the one raising a possibility. A message from the deceased. Does a message exist? I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind is in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright! Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. But what if the truth is that Emma is guilty? No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright. Please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. The jar once again. You see the line and the red dots on the jar, right? And I bet you're all wondering, what are those exactly? That's our message. This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yes, there is a line of blood. There is a line here, drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect to these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No. Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Well, let's do it. Emma. I think that's it. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Well, shit. That's a shocking revelation if we ever had one. See, Worthy? Can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice. What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death. How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Order! 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 The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to sell the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. Looking at what we just revealed, it definitely does not paint a good picture for Emma at all. And it pretty much explains perfectly, I think, why Lana pretty much went along with Gant's orders for as long as she has up until this point, and why she's even willing to essentially sacrifice herself. It's all for Emma's sake. Gant had this evidence along that piece of cloth with Emma's fingerprints in his locker. I think you all can pretty much guess why that's the case now. With this evidence against Lana's sister, he'd be able to implicate Emma of murdering Neil Marshall anytime he wanted. That was Gant's blackmail against Lana, how he was able to control her. If he went against his wishes, he could essentially reveal this evidence at any point and ruin Emma's future, get her implicated of Neil Marshall's murder. This pretty much explains everything, really. Now I just gotta prove it in the next part of the trial. Gant is certainly no saint. Let's not deny that. Now I'm gonna do everything in my power to show that. But yeah, I'll save this for the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.